Hey everybody, welcome back to the David Guttman podcast, CryoCon 2025 edition. I've got a really, really cool guest here today, Mark Wilson. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you, David. Happy to be here.
So, CEO of CryoBuilt, and won the award last night for Best in Show for your booth, which, by the way, looks freaking fantastic.
Thank you.
If you don't mind me asking, what did that booth cost?
It was pretty pricey. So we were renting booths before, and they were very pricey. It's like extremely expensive to rent these large booths for big expos. So we looked at buying one and what the economics on it was. So really penciled it out to be about 3 shows. It pays for itself.
Oh.
So it was a tough bite of the apple, but it was very, very expensive. But now this is our 3rd show using it. So now after this, It's just kind of gravy. So it was worth the investment, but a little risky there.
I mean, just to like set it up.
Just to set it up is expensive, and you're spending, we got 4 to 5 guys coming doing multiple hours a day to set it up and tear it down. So
yeah. So when I was looking at your background, like you were just like in the refrigeration business, right?
Yep.
And so then you're like, hey, maybe I'll start freezing people. By the way, I actually tried your just a couple hours ago. Tried your new device.
Awesome.
Holy crap, is it cold?
It is cold. It is very cold.
So how did you decide, hey, maybe I want to start freezing people instead of freezing other stuff?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting story. So my dad started in the refrigeration trade when he was young, out of high school. So he did that his whole life. Naturally, I grew up around it. That's all I really knew on, seeing that business, is seeing him do that. And then I went off to college. He started his own business at that time when I left for college. And he would need help, and on the business side, and I was going to school for business, so I was helping him and growing his business. I got out of college, and I realized, like, God, you got like a real company here. He's like, yeah, cool. Can you come in and run the business side? I'm like, I went to school of business undergrad, but I needed a little more time, so I went to get my MBA, and we grew that business up. 12 years in that business. We were approached by private equity, and at the time we made an exit. We were just working on cryotherapy, so it was a kind of a offshoot of what we were already doing on the custom manufacturing for refrigeration, and we carved out cryotherapy, and that's where CryoBuilt was born.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time, we really didn't know where it was going to be, but it was cool because the systems we were building were for like celebrities and pro sports teams. Like, hey, this could be kind of a cool little thing. I had in my back of my mind that it could be something as big as it is today, but a lot of people didn't think that, and it was like a little bit of a pipe dream. So that's how it happened, and we really just went from, like you said, freezing food to freezing people, and it was a pretty natural progression for us. Definitely colder,
right,
but really the product is the same. It's people versus food.
You're doing something right, because I think you've been in the Inc. 5000 3 years, if I read that correctly, right? So that's quite an accomplishment. Now, have you raised capital, or did you guys self-fund from the private equity exit?
We self-funded everything, and from that self-funding, just natural growth from there. So organic growth and continue to grow, and having those 3 years in a row where we were 4xing every year, and it's a lot of rapid growth. And I mean, we have expanded as a company so quickly, and looking forward to what's next for us, and still haven't had to take any capital yet, which is nice. We like our equity, but it's not out of the plans for the future. So,
well, so one of the things, if I remember from looking at your background, you were CFO earlier in your career, right? So one of the things that I find is probably the most undervalued skill, especially in CEOs, is having a strong understanding of finance, and I wouldn't say accounting like credits and debits necessarily, but understanding, how to forecast and project properly, and really being thoughtful when you're doing, it's amazing to me, even decent sized companies don't have formal board meetings with, formal budgets. When I got hired at this, for a prop trading firm, they were doing 15 million a year and they didn't have a budget. I'm like, how do you run an 8-figure business without a budget? How do you know how you're doing?
Right.
But so how is that your experience, and how helpful has it been to you to have that finance background?
Yeah, it's been really helpful. I mean, I think that if I didn't go back to school to get my MBA, we wouldn't have sold that first time. And I always say that when we did that private equity deal, the due diligence process of that was like my second MBA, because you do your undergrad, you do MBA, and then you do a deal like that, and you get put through the ringer.
Sure.
And you really understand why money's important, and why the financials and the balance sheet, all those things are important. Because before that, I mean, we're scaling quickly, we're going quickly, it's all good, there's money in the bank, okay, let's go. But if you're not on top of it, you can get over your skis real quickly and be in a bad situation that you don't even know about. So if you're bleeding cash. So that's definitely helped a lot. I mean, to be honest though, we have scaled so quickly and so fast that we're just now recently getting more savvy on that and going on budgets and saying, okay, here's our budget for this, here's our budget for that, and allocating it between departments. So it's definitely something best to do early on to get a handle on it, because once you start scaling, it can get out of control. And if you're not doing great, you can get in a bad position real quick. So it's definitely something you want to keep your eye on early on, rather than just hope for the best. Because if the bigger you get, the harder it is to keep being successful every year over year. So
now, do you guys have like a formal board of directors? Do you have formal quarterly board meetings, things like that?
We have formal meetings, but not really board of directors. The board of directors is really my dad and I, and some of our higher level technicians. Our biggest board meetings are budget review, looking at the financials, how they're doing, allocating capital, and really most of the board meetings turn into R&D meetings where we're talking about new product development, what's next, how to increase profitability on certain things, how to increase our service, how to improve the product that we have. So it definitely is there, but we're still in that. I mean, we're doing nearly 20 million a year, and we're still feel like a startup at the core, which is it's a good thing. I still want to keep that, and I don't want to get too corporate on it. So we do have those things, but we really prioritize that startup kind of feel and like the team effort. So.
And what's the head count in the organization?
I think we're at 40 employees now, so we're pretty evenly spaced. Everything's in the U.S. We manufacture in Sacramento, California. We have our head offices attached to the manufacturing building, so we have the core team there, all the people in the office, management, accounting, sales. Then we also have the manufacturing that's right out there, service and install components. Those guys come and go where they're doing service out in the field or installs out in the field, and they come and do manufacturing in the facility as well. So, and
I'm curious. What's it like working with your dad?
Yeah, it's honestly it's all I've really ever done. I've never really had a real job. In high school, I had real jobs, but out of college, it's always been entrepreneurial, working in the family business, or doing my own thing. So we get along really well. We agree on most things that we don't know, so we complement each other well. He's definitely the refrigeration brain. He's taught me enough about refrigeration that I understand how it works at a high level. But he is the expert in it. We have other refrigeration technicians that can really know really what they're talking about. But then me on the financial side and the business side, I'm able to guide that. So we stay in our own lane and work fairly well together. So
that's nice.
We live near each other, so it's we don't get sick of each other too much. So
that's really nice. Yeah. That's really nice. And is there some point at which you think he might retire, or you think you guys will see this business through together to an exit?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the type of guy probably similar as me. The retirement is never probably going to be something that is on the thought, and it's just going to be maybe more long weekends or more trips and stuff like that, where the retirement isn't really ever going to be needed. But never say never. But I think for me, I'm young, so it's hard for me to think about retirement. I'd get too antsy and I wouldn't do something else. And I think he's a little bit the same way. So we'll keep him around because he's a good mind to have around as long as we can.
That's really nice. That must be really, really enjoyable. I have worked at here and there with my dad on some stuff, my older brother with some stuff too, and that can be really fun if you can make it work. Yep. Which often some people can't, but when you can make it work, I think it's great.
Sometimes tough, but it's good. Yeah.
Now, do you have children of your own, or?
I do. Yeah, I have 3 children, all boys. So it's a handful at home, and it's really. Someone asked me earlier, what's the joy of my life? It's like I love business, I love building businesses, but really at the end of the day, it's like going home to the family and like living that. It's not a separate life. Like I kind of keep them like they're the same intertwined life because I'm working at home a lot, but really having the flexibility to be able to coach sports teams, be involved in their lives. Like I missed one of the games last night, but I was able to track on the thing. It's pretty cool. So
nice.
Really love the family aspect to it.
It really matters to kids. I remember one time, I still remember this. My dad, I wrestled in high school and college, and my dad was on a business trip in California. He flew all the way from California to New York to watch me wrestle a 6-minute match, and then flew back, and I still remember it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and I remember I coached my daughter's soccer team for a couple of years, and that was one of the most fun things I've ever done. So one of the things that most of the businesses I've been in have been monthly recurring revenue businesses. Yours is, or I would say recurring revenue businesses more broadly. yours is a transactional business. Those seem like they're harder to scale. Do you, I guess maybe that's been most of your professional experience. Like, do you find that that's a harder business to scale, or how do you think about it?
No, it's interesting. It's a great question. So our background was more on service. So we do service, recurring revenue contracts, maintenance contracts for big cold storage facilities, grocery stores, et cetera. We did mix in some custom manufacturing for that. So we had both. We had the transactional sale, and then we'd offer service and maintenance plans on that equipment and also other equipment as that other business. So when we started CryoBuilt, we already had that core service foundation, and we founded the company more on a service-based recurring revenue model than a product company.
Oh.
So the goal for our company is, of course, to sell as many cryo chambers as possible, but it's not just to bank that money right now, it's to build up the recurring revenue service department over the life of the business. And we've been really successful at that. It is interesting, it's not just about the recurring revenue, because if you provide good service to the customer on a subscription level, they are knowing out of pocket what they're paying for a long term, that their equipment's taken care of, protects the brand image, everyone's happy. And then we are focused on refining our product so we can make more money on the service and scale that a lot easier. So, so it is both. I mean, I definitely think we're more of a service company even than a product company.
I hadn't thought about it till you and I were just talking here, but now that I think about it, I'm a big believer in if you want to understand how people are going to behave, just understand the alignment of incentives or lack of alignment, and you're going to know how people will behave, right?
Sure.
And so now that I think about it, I could see why if your business was more transactional, then there's a disalignment of incentives, right? It's like your incentive is just to sell me something, and yeah, maybe make some money off the service, but if that's not core to what you do, all of a sudden you don't care that much.
Right.
You care much more about the transaction. And me as an owner, operator, I'm going to care a lot more about how that equipment's going to perform over time. Otherwise, I don't have a business.
Right.
So that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, no, it's really important that, and for these type of equipment, it's very expensive equipment. It's a capital expense that's an investment over a long period of time. And if you're buying a piece of equipment, you want it to last a long time, and you want those values to be aligned. So that's when people ask, like, hey, which product do I choose? Like, we'll ask those hard questions. What's the service look like? And if it's not a good plan, then that's a sign that they don't have a good plan, and you're going to be the guinea pig. So it's an important factor for sure, long term.
So I was doing some research on your website because personally, I've only done the cryo saunas where your head's outside and it's using liquid nitrogen, which if I remember correctly, it costs like $6 or $7 per session or something like that. You guys are doing like the whole body cryotherapy where you're going in and basically it's head to toe. I did a little bit of research, but I'd love to hear from you. Like, what's the difference in the science behind it? Like, in terms of the ability to, recover from, from athletic, output, or, someone's got arthritis or fibromyalgia, can never pronounce that, things like that. What's the science say about the difference in terms of how effective the two are?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, both are good. All cold exposure is good if you're going to talk about nitrogen, electric, or cold plunge. It's all cold exposure, it's good. There are differences. I mean, I think when you're doing whole body cryotherapy, the goal, whatever the end goal is, what you want to do is get the whole body involved to have more systemic response to the cold rather than like just icing a certain part of your body. Like if you have a bruise or something, ice that part of the body, that's going to be a localized type of treatment. Whole body cryotherapy, you're activating the vagus nerve, you're getting all the cold receptors in your body, you're sending fight or flight messages to your brain to enact that body's natural response to the cold and get that systemic response. So with both, you're able to do it. I'm a firm believer, of course, that you should have your whole body, including your head inside. So I do think there's a big value of having your head inside. And then cooling with nitrogen versus electric, it comes down to sustainability and the economics and temperature, right? So it's easy to cool with nitrogen because nitrogen is a very cool inert gas, whereas refrigeration or just cold air is just very much similar to a freezer or refrigerator. It's just there's no gas involved in that you're breathing in. You have to be much colder, and it's very difficult to get that cold with electric. So the reason we did that is it was already existing, but it was not commonplace. Nitrogen was more the commonplace use because it was so easy to do. But it's not sustainable. You don't freeze your food. No one cools their food with nitrogen. It's not a thing. It's a medical type thing. You might freeze a wart with nitrogen, but you're not going to be using that as a sustainable source of body cooling. There were also some safety concerns at the time with nitrogen. Costs were getting out of control. At the time, the price of cryotherapy supported it because it was a novelty. So people are charging, over $100
Right.
at range for cryotherapy. You're going once, but that's not a sustainable business model. So when we introduced the electric, it kind of solved all those issues. It's like, okay, we have a very cold chamber that, there was some at the beginning, people thought that no way you can get that cold with electric. So we proved that we could disrupted that market. And I think, that what we did helped elevate the whole industry, because this nitrogen just was not going to be a long-term sustainable use. But all of them are good. I encourage everyone to do any type of cold therapy they can, even if it's getting outside on a cold day. But of course, whole body electric at a cold temperature is my preference.
You half answered my other question I had for you. One of my other questions that I had for you, which was, because I have a hot and cold plunge, so it goes down to 37 degrees all the way up to 107, so I can use it as a hot tub or I think it's, I forget the name of it now. Anyway, but so the difference between doing, doing a whole body cryotherapy in a device like yours versus doing cold plunge, again, I think you're probably right. Certainly for inflammation reduction, I'm sure they're all pretty effective. But is there a difference in maybe one's better for an acute injury versus, I don't know, is there a difference there?
There's a ton of debate on there, and people, from both sides are gonna, throw stones either way, and what's better or what's worse. And again, all is good. I prefer the type of cryotherapy or cold therapy you can do on a sustainable basis. So for me and for most people, I think, is not getting wet. It's just stripping down and going into a cold room for 3 minutes. So that's the best, always the best one is the one you can repeat. So I love cold plunge. I do cold plunge myself, but I hate the feeling of being cold in the water.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's miserable.
I view cold plunge as a benefit to the overall health and wellness industry and the overall cryotherapy industry. And it's, I say it's a gateway drug into cryo. So you do cold plunge, you hate it, but you get addicted to it because you feel great afterwards. And then you realize the designer cryos out there, and you can just go do something very luxurious and step into a cold box and get similar or better results. But if you're doing it, both of them should be systemic, because if you're putting your entire body in the cold plunge, I would recommend getting the neck down in the cold plunge, sometimes even the head under the water, to get that full systemic response with the vagus nerve in the back of your neck and the central nervous system. But all the above are good.
The other thing that I just found out recently, and this seems to make sense, and I'm curious to get your opinion, is when to do it with regard to, especially like when you're lifting, doing resistance training, because my understanding is if you do it too quickly after you've done the workout, you basically stop the hypertrophy because you've stopped the inflammation response, which normally you don't want, but in the case of hypertrophy, you do. So what's the right amount of time to wait, post resistance training?
Yeah, we get that question a lot for the gym, especially the gyms we put them into, the fitness centers, where you have people going there for different reasons, right? A lot of them are going there to build muscle and bulk. So if that's your goal, then you're going to want to do cryotherapy before the workout, not after, right? So you want to give it that full day to let that happen. You let those muscle tears heal on their own. Let that happen. Let that bulk build. If you're not going for that, and you're just going to either maintain or to maybe continue working out, you have a lot of soreness, but you want to continue your fitness journey, or maybe you're a pro athlete, you're already at your ideal state, but you just really want to train that crop, then doing it after or even before and after is beneficial. But it is something to consider. Like I have some bodybuilder friends, and they're, a lot of them are like, wow, why would you ever do cryo? It's like, well, hold on. You're right. Why would you ever do cryo if you're trying to bodybuild right after your workout?
Right.
But you should definitely do it to recover, so you can get back and do that next PR the next day. So it's
so
definitely
like an hour before, something like that.
An hour before, you definitely want to make sure you warm up. You don't want to do cryotherapy and then go hit a PR, because your muscles are going to be tight. They're going to be cold. So you want to go get on the treadmill, stretch out, start light, and then you're going to be good to go. So after about probably 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah.
So one of the things that surprising, I was talking to someone else that's here at CryoCon, and I was like, it's strange to me that none of the fitness, gyms, for whether you're talking about a Soul Cycle or a Flywheel or a Orange Theory or Equinox, doesn't really matter. None of them really do the recovery stuff. At least I've never seen like cryotherapy or red light therapy or things like that, compression therapy even. and yet you've got all these sort of biohacking, wellness, cryotherapy spas, whatever you want to call them, all over the place. And you said they're separate. Why? Why do you think? Because it's just like, it would just make so much sense to me that Equinox, because of their price point, could just add those additional services and add such a great, more margin to their, lifetime value of a customer. Why would they not do that? Because I would think that'd be a great growth area for you, is if all those gyms, if all the Lifetimes and Equinoxes were buying your devices, that would only be good for business.
Oh no, it'd be great. And from when we first started the company, that was our first target market. Like, hey, this would be great in gyms. I mean, you have a captive audience that is naturally going to be interested in these type of services. For whatever reason, it was very difficult to break into. We spent years and years going after the gym industry, making connections, talking to people. We finally broke into the gym industry. So we are putting them in. We have it in Equinox, we have it in Lifetime Fitness, we have it in LA Fitness, EOS. Several gyms are adding it, and they're adding not only cryotherapy, but other wellness modalities. They are making recovery centers. UFC Fit, the UFC gyms have a lot of them. So it is a very rapidly growing area, because they realize, like, not only should they have this, they have to have this because our customers are demanding it. And I've heard being said in the industry, if you don't put recovery in, I will put you out of business, because I'll make it next door to you, and all of your members will come to me. So it's going to be, I view cryotherapy and wellness in general as being akin to having a shower at your gym. You just have to have it if you want to provide value.
And again, just like you said, only because you're so close to it, because like you said, you've been trying this for years. Why do you think it was such a tough sell? It seems so obvious.
It's odd for a whole industry to be able to change. And one thing I heard, I go to these industry events and sit at the round tables and hear what they're talking about. And one of the things they brought up was during COVID. It's kind of the aftermath of COVID. We're coming out of COVID, and they were talking about, how did we get left behind with Peloton, right? Peloton was around before COVID. They didn't just come, Peloton took advantage, and they weren't ready. So they were like, what is the next thing that we need to be ready for? And I happened to be there, and I was like literally going up next, and it was set up for me. I was like, this is perfect. So guys, the answer to that question is wellness and recovery. It's coming, and you need to be ready for it. Yeah. So I think it's just, big boats move slow, and making those turns and wondering, is this a fad? Is this a real thing? And I think now at this point, we've really convinced everyone this is real, it's not going away. So invest in it for the longevity of your business and your members' health. So.
Got it. Well, look, as we look to wrap up here, I have a question more on the personal front that someone asked it to me on a podcast, maybe 8 or 9 months ago, and I'd never been asked this question before, so I don't always ask it, but I do sometimes. And so you're like you said, you're still relatively young. So flash forward, maybe, 30 or 40 years, you're still around. What do you think you'd want your sons to say about you?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I would just want my sons to say that I gave them the opportunity to do whatever they want to do. I got that opportunity. I was able to live the life I wanted to. I actually thought I was gonna be a pro baseball player. That was my life, and that was, my dad supported that, and he would travel all over, and he was working his butt off, traveling all over the place. And I was like, I'm gonna be a pro baseball player. That's what I'm doing with my life. And I had that opportunity to do that. So obviously I didn't end up doing that. I realized, like, well, you know what, there's a lot of good players out there. I'm probably not gonna be a pro. And I was able to fall back into something else that was, also help my parents help support, like, me going to college and doing those things. So I had a plan. So I just want to do that for my kids as well. And I want to be the dad that was there. I don't want to be a dad that was like, hey, my dad's a really big in the cryo industry, but he was never around. So I want to try to do all of the things. And it's difficult sometimes, but at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about. It's having your kids say something nice about you, and them having a good life because of what you could do to make their life a little better than yours was. So. Well,
let me ask one follow-up question. By the way, we do have that in common. Growing up, I wanted to be shortstop for the Yankees, and then Derek Jeter took my job, and I wouldn't let go. Anyway, but I'm curious. How do you think about, because you have three boys. I have a 25-year-old daughter, and the single hardest thing for me as a parent is, how much suffering do I allow my daughter to experience? Because as a parent, you want it to be none, like that's your knee jerk, but that's also not good for them, right? It's like, if they don't experience any suffering, how are they gonna, grow character, develop character? How do you think about that with your boys, and especially since they could easily come into the family business and have an easier career path in a way? How do you think about that?
It's got to be one of the most difficult things as a parent. Just like you said, you want to make their life super easy because the goal is to give them a good life, right? But that's not always a good life. That's just an easy life that's going to set them up for potential failure down the road. So I'm fortunate that I have 3 boys. If I had a girl, I don't know if I could do that very well.
It's harder.
Because it's really, really hard. So with the boys, you can be a little tougher, and it still pulls at your heartstrings. You don't want to have them go through something difficult, but that it's temporary. And I've had the benefit of having kids over a wide range of time. So I've seen it play out on the older kid, and then being able to apply that lesson learned with the younger ones. And it's difficult. I mean, but you have to do it. If you don't do it, that's not really being a parent. You're just being a friend.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hey, Marcus, where can people find you? Where can they find CryoBuilt?
Yeah, we're now over 500 locations across the world now. Most of them are in the U.S., but we're expanding worldwide now. So everyone, really, the goal is to every major country you can go have cryotherapy easy and accessible to you, where you can pay as little as $30 a session to go try this amazing, life transforming experience. So that's the goal. But yeah, really every major city and state in the U.S. for sure. But
yeah, cool.
Soon to be the world.
Marcus, thanks so much for making time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Yeah.